Hey guys, what's going on? Watomarmelon back again, and today I'm going to be bringing a market watch. Merry Christmas to everybody. I don't know when exactly I'm going to upload this. I'm going to record this on Christmas Eve, so this is either going to be posted Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. So the first thing, the talk of the town, are quarter century secret rares. Personally, I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed by quarter century secret rares. They're absolutely everywhere. If I go on Facebook groups or Reddit to try and buy something, every single post is just quarter century secret rares, quarter century secret rares. And to me, the fact that these places are just completely inundated with quarter century secret rares takes a little bit away from them, in my opinion. However, I still think they're cool, and I'm excited to see what they put in Stampede. There are a number of different collectors sets that you could put together, such as the Signer Dragons, Power Tool, Lifestream Dragon. These sorts of things would be really nice additions and would round out a pretty comprehensive list of quarter century secret rares. So let's start with Bonanza. Basically, as I said before, in a set this large where individual quarter century secret rares are as rare as they are, it's not surprising to see one of them take the top spot at over $100. I'd be pretty surprised, in fact, if there was nothing over 100. So we see Blue Eyes is 123 or so, which, it's Blue Eyes. That's not super crazy that it's atop the set. Although I am a bit surprised by the performance of some of the other cards. Things like Caius, I thought, were a bit overrated, and while they did go down in price, they still are atop the set. Blackluster, Soldier, On for the Beginning. Both of these cards are ones that I find pretty cool, but I didn't realize there were enough people that were actively looking for mid-max rarities of Caius for Edison format and BLS for GOAT format. I didn't realize there were that many people. However, there are signs, I said this previously, that things like Caius with 52 listings, there are just a lot of them on the market, and so I wouldn't be super surprised to see something like Caius continue to drop. And if we look at Caius right now, we can see that the prices started to come down. If we just look at the past month, there's an initial surge at around $80, and it's come down quite a bit since then. The market price is $70, but you can see listings at $60, so presumably it's going to keep coming down. I just don't think that there are enough people looking for Edison format min-max rarities. Just doesn't seem feasible to me. I'm a bit surprised that the Dark Magician girls are less than half the price of the Blue Eyes. I thought that things like the A and B type are pretty cool. I like both of those. I like A the best. C I don't love. It's the tin artwork, but there haven't been any other printings of that artwork, and so I don't think it's too bad. And you can see all of them are around 50 or so. The one that's really, really surprised me, and I'm completely baffled, is Stratos at the sixth best in the set. In fact, its lowest listing is the second highest in the set. So realistically, this is the second highest performing card, and there are very few listings left right now. Lowest listings around 70. The thing that surprises me about Stratos is that it already has an ultimate rare. It has a Starlight rare. I'm just surprised that there's enough market for all three of these rarities to keep them all reasonably high in price. Stratos is like a core monster for the hero archetype, which is super popular, but from the collector's side, I don't think it's the card to collect, and I don't think heroes are such meta that they command this demand for all three of those high rarities. But players would have to fill in why it's so desirable. Something like Striker, Mobilize, Engage, playable card. Not surprising that it's shooting up in price as more support for Sky Strikers and more playability is for the deck. Then you got Blue Eyes Ultimate. This one has a Ghost Rare, and so while it is a Blue Eyes card, and I can't fault people for buying it at 45, there is that sort of competing modern rarity that only came out a couple of years ago. Dark Magician in this artwork doesn't really have any other competing modern prints, so I think it's pretty cool. Maybe it did get a Millennium Secret. I honestly forget. Upstart, that's just a classic. Not surprising to see it up here. Heavy Storm doesn't really have any competing rarities in the modern sense, So also not super surprising to see it up here. Dark Magician Girl, the Dragonite, is a card that I personally really like as a quarter century secret. It doesn't have any other high rarity modern printings that I think can compete with it. And so I like that one a lot. Things like Raigeki, Judgment Dragon, Mirror Force, like all of them, cool cards. Raigeki specifically does have an ultimate rare from an OTS pack, and so it is what it is. But the other ones are pretty cool. There's the All Art Red Eyes, Absolute Zero, another hero card near the top of the set. CED, that's strictly collectors, and so I'm not super optimistic about Chaos Emperor Dragon because it has the ultimate rare, has the collector rare. You know, there are a lot of different rarity printings of this. Winged Dragon of Ra, and additionally the whole set of the God cards, I actually don't like this artwork of Winged Dragon of Ra. And this artwork is available in 20th anniversary, not quarter century, in the OCG, and it was like the cheapest card for the longest time because it was a promo. But I think the other two arts for the Obelisk and the Slifer are really, really cool. So you have the Obelisk and the Slifer. I think that those arts are just incredible. I think the Raw is a bit disappointing. Like, you look at Slifer and Obelisk and they're just completely commanding the artwork. They look menacing. And then you've got Raw and it just looks like a little baby bird. But overall, you know, you can keep scrolling down the list. There are a lot of collectible cards that are holding at the sort of $20 to $30 point. A lot of this stuff makes sense to me at these price points, and I think that this is going to sustain a collector's market for quite some time. So overall, you know, Bonanza is doing pretty similar to what I thought it was going to do. Obviously, you can't predict every single card, but you know, I think it's pretty reasonable, and it's a great time to be a budget collector because, you know, years ago these would have been, you know, can you imagine a Jinzo quarter century secret rare, you know, the equivalent Jinzo collector rare 3 years ago? People would have lost their minds. It would have been like a $75 card. And quarter century secret rare, it's, you know, $30, pretty accessible. And so I'm happy that there is this accessible rarity for a lot of people. Moving on, quarter century secret rares are the talk of the town, and so this is going to be the second to last set that I'm going to cover if it wants to reload. So the other big thing to talk about are the tins that were released recently. Interestingly, the Blue Eyes keeps going up. You can see the lowest listing 17, but the market price has been going up from, I think it was at 22 at its lowest, and so it's back up to, you know, 30, approaching 31. And the number of listings, you can see it's 27. It's way, way, way below anything else. I said this before. SDK art, I don't care how many of them there are printed. Obviously, that's going to affect price to an extent and prevent it from ever being super expensive. But it's just such a desirable card that over time people are just 100% going to eat up the supply of it. And so that's what we're seeing. You know, it's super desirable and it's pretty affordable. And if you're a collector, you probably want one of these. And I think a lot of people have that point of view. The one that does surprise me a bit is Dark Magician Girl. This is one that's been hovering around $10 for a while. You can see the number of listings is enormous. It's higher than basically anything else on this page. And so I'm a bit surprised that people are neglecting Dark Magician Girl to this extent. I've always said that I think that Dark Magician Girl is way overrated relative to Blue Eyes. I think that the sort of excitement and collectors' interest behind Dark Magician Girl is somewhat manufactured. Like, I think there are a number of prominent collectors who collect Dark Magician Girl, and unintentionally they've influenced a lot of the collecting sphere to like Dark Magician Girl, even though I don't think people genuinely like it as much as they claim. That sounds like complete conspiracy, but that's my opinion. I think that if people didn't watch YouTube videos, they wouldn't like Dark Magician Girl as much. My opinion. However, despite all of that, people are completely rejecting this is the original art Dark Magician Girl, so it's not like some weird alt art that people hate. It's the original art, looks nice, and it's a really cool rarity. I get there's this huge amount of supply, but there's the same exact amount of supply for Blue Eyes, and you can see the relative discrepancy. There are about, 4 times the number of listings for Dark Magician Girl as there are for Blue Eyes, and so, you can't explain that just on supply. Clearly, there's a huge demand difference, and I don't know why Dark Magician Girl is just completely left to the wayside, whereas Blue Eyes is completely desired. Maybe people are just not being influenced by YouTubers as much. I don't know. And then a bunch of the other things. Everything else is under $5 and not really notable. I like all of the Exodia pieces. I think that people are going to want to collect full sets of Exodia. There aren't many shiny versions of Exodia to collect all 5 pieces of, and so Quarter Century Secret Rare is a really nice one. And you think about the other ones that have been printed recently, namely the Starlight Rares, those are just so rare and hard to get that the average person is not going to bother collecting a $700 Exodia set. It's just not going to happen. Whereas this one is quite affordable. Each of the pieces is like $2.50, $3. Torrential Tribute, I've bought a couple of those. I think that that's a really cool one. Light and Darkness Dragon, also a really cool one. There's a lot of great stuff here. Yubel, Honest. You can't really go wrong with a lot of this stuff in this set, and it's so cheap that, I'm a big proponent of, if something's affordable at the moment, don't try to buy the absolute low point. It might go down, but if you're splitting hairs over a couple of dollars, it's probably not worth it. It's better to just buy something that you can easily afford right now than wait a long time, not have something that you actually want, and then have someone buy it out, and you kind of have to wait even longer amounts of time for the market to sort of correct itself. And so you're stuck waiting and waiting and waiting to buy something that realistically, there's no point in trying to time the absolute bottom of a dollar card. It doesn't make sense. Makes a bit more sense if you're interested in something like Dragon Master Magia, where it's extremely expensive, and timing the bottom might save you hundreds of dollars. Here it's going to save you $1. It's not worth it. And then you got Winking Wink Rebo, Scapegoat. There's so many cool cards. Crystal Beast Ruby Carbuncle. I really hope that they print the remaining Crystal Beasts in Stampede. I think it would be a huge error for them to not print the remaining Crystal Beasts, but we'll have to see. Overall fun set. The bottom has really fallen out with these Quarter Century Secret Rares, but I think they're great things that people are going to continue collecting over time. And so despite the huge supply, maybe eventually the supply dries up. Now, I've talked a lot about Quarter Century Secret Rares. Let's switch gears to Collector Rares, if my pages are going to load. I forgot to mention this at the beginning, but there was some positive feedback around me using my tablet, and so I'm just going to go forward with this for the time being. The audio seemed better, and people didn't mind the different style. So here we've got Ogdoabyss, the Ogdoadic Overlord out of Ancient Guardians. This is a set that I'm a big fan of as a collector. I remember this was back during the pandemic. It was, a set that people didn't really like when it came out, and it has been one of the worst aging sets of all time in terms of value. However, the cards inside, I think, are actually pretty cool. And so Ogdoabyss is one of the ones that I absolutely love the texture on for the collector rare. I love the art. I just think it looks really cool. It looks like an epic monster. And I'm assuming there's some amount of support because all the Ogdoabyss cards are going up. And you can see that there's a huge buyout. If you look at the bar charts over the past year, there's been sparse sales throughout, and then all of a sudden, people bought 25 of them a couple days ago. So this one has completely come off the market for the most part. You can see there's a lightly plated around 25, including shipping. Troll and Toad has one at a little under 34. You have some unverified stuff, and then there's someone at 42. And so there aren't many of this available, but I don't really see this being, maybe this becomes top meta and people really want it, but I like this as a collector's item, and you've had years and years to buy the thing, and so I wouldn't waste your money unless, you had no knowledge of it, but it's a really cool art, in my opinion. Next up, we're going to have to reload again, unfortunately, but we're going to go over Ancient Guardians, because, as I said, this set is one of the worst aging booster boxes of all time. I believe it came out in 2021, and it's $29 a booster box, coming up on 4 years later. That is not what you want to see out of a set, right? That is just not what you want to see. However, inside of it, there are a number of cool things. You've got trade-in. I believe this did get a quarter century secret rare printing, and so that's been hurt a bit as a collector rare. Snake Rain is one that you can see it's getting bought out. It's one of the most bought out cards of all time, but maybe it is, this is the time where it's a completely game-changing card. However, I would be surprised if Ogdoadic cards get, all these reprints, new support that makes them good, and they didn't reprint Snake Rain in Quarter Century Secret. And so I'm always hesitant for cards now that don't have Quarter Century Secret printings. You have to be nervous that they're going to do it, especially if it's not archetype specific and it's generically it can be used for multiple archetypes. That's when I get a little nervous. Or if it was an old card that got a modern printing, they often double dip if the modern printing is preferred. So the rest of the Ogdoadic cards, you can see Ogdoadic Overlord is bought out. We just covered that. There's Amnesia, the Ogdoadic Queen, also bought out, and then you can see Ogdoadic King, or Aaron, the Ogdoadic King, is also doing very, very well for itself. You can tell there's been some sort of buyout because the ultra rares are also going up. So those are all interesting. The whole set, I do genuinely think that these old sets have nice identity, but given that many of the high-end desirable cards are collector rares that have just been printed as quarter centuries. We just saw a Dino Wrestler Pankratops as a quarter century secret rare. It's $1 or so. You're not going to pay hundreds of dollars anymore for collector rares when the quarter century secret is so cheap. The Sulfur cool cards. I've had some of them over the years. I'm not really into sort of the anime style cards as much, but I think they're generally pretty cool. I like the Ursartics. They're kind of these mechs based on bears. I like them. I think I need to buy a Septentrion, but I have the other ones, and so those are cool in my book. Skullmeister got a quarter century secret rare printing, and so it's come down a huge amount. This is a collector rare I hope to pick up. And then Phenomenaga, I doubt it will ever get a quarter century secret rare, given how cheap the collector rare is, but this is probably the most beautiful collector rare, so would recommend if you haven't picked it up before. Refresh. I'm already coming up on 20 minutes, so I'm going to have to be quick, but quarter century secret rares, we've mentioned how Stampede is threatening a lot of these cards. Apollosa original printing does not have a quarter century secret rare yet, and so imagine that it's going to be in Stampede. Same thing with the different Charmers that are links. I think all of these are likely candidates for quarter century secret rares. Mirror Jade, I don't believe has a quarter century secret rare. Could be wrong on that one. Triple Tactics Talent. Also, basically anything you see here that doesn't have a quarter century secret rare, assume it will. Destiny Hero, Destroyer, and Phoenix Enforcer has a quarter century secret rare in the OCG. I think it's almost certain it will get one in the TCG and Stampede. So there's a lot of stuff here, a lot of cool cards, but I imagine basically all of these are going to get quarter century secret rares, and so I would not go after these as collector items because I imagine there's going to be a printing of them in quarter century secret, and that's going to completely devalue the Starlight. You can see that Dark Magicians is getting bought out. I think it's going to be a quarter century secret, and people are just going to dump the Starlight rare. I could be wrong, but that's my intuition. Next up, we've got Dragon Master Magia. It's one that I thought was overrated. I think it's very cool, but I don't think it ever should have been a $1,000 card. Shouldn't have ever come close to that. And you can see that it shot up to the moon, and it's coming back down. Now, where it ends up, who knows? There's been so much hype around this card that it's impossible to predict, but the one prediction I'll make is that there's no reason that this should have been a $1,000 card. And to me, this is something that would make more sense at $150. And so it's over 800 right now. You can see it's 811 lowest listing. If this stays at the current price, I'd be dumbfounded. So I don't expect it to continue its reign of terror. And then finally, I don't have a whole lot of time to talk about these, but quarter or prismatic ultimate rares are something that I personally really like, and they are some of the most affordable things. Generally, there's not a whole lot to say. Most of these things are very, very cheap. There are only a handful of prismatic ultimate rares above $5 market value, 11 of them total. So it doesn't really make sense for me to go through every single one and say, oh, wow, this one's gone up 30 cents or this one's gone down 30 cents. But as a whole, they're so cheap. They have really cool texture, and I'm a big fan of these. I think if you're a budget collector, these are some of the best cards to go after. Let me know what you guys think, and I think I'll end there. Hopefully, you guys did enjoy. Use the affiliate links in the description below. Let me know if you guys enjoyed this style of tablet, if the audio was better like before. But overall, enjoyed doing the market watch, and prismatic ultimate rares are underrated. So it's been your boy Watomarmelon, and peace out.